Here's an interesting question, Teddy. You've been watching the business for a long time. I've been a pro wrestling fan for 20 plus years, but I never knew why wrestlers wear wrist tape. Thanks, from John S. Hey, John S., I appreciate you listening to the show. Teddy, why do you think guys wear wrist tape?
And I don't know if it would be to give the other guy something to grip onto, for the throws. But, when you're benching, the guys wear the wrist wraps. I think that's.
You hit it right on the head there, Teddy. Basically, it's just for traction. You get a lot of sweat going on in there. You know, a lot of guys wear some baby oil to look shiny, look good for the cameras and for the audience. I was more just a water guy. Didn't really like the baby oil too much. I remember one time I was wrestling Ahmed Johnson over in Germany, and God dang, Ahmed used to put the damn baby oil on like a motherfucker. It's like wrestling a gigantic tanker truck who was slippery in hell. And as all due respect to Ahmed Johnson, a lot of the boys did it back then. Back before then, when I was in Atlanta, I'm not familiar. I don't know if you're familiar, Teddy. Some of my listeners are. That stuff, it's like they would spray it on their skin. It's like a vasodilator. It was like wrestling someone who had icy hot all over them and kind of make their skin red and their veins pump out. But if you got that shit in your eyes, it hurt like a motherfucker. I can't remember the name of it. Back in the day, guys used to use that. But to go back to answer your question there, John, some guys used it a little bit for support. It does offer that depending on how tight you tape your wrist. But long story short, for me, my perspective was just purely for traction. When you're wet in there and slippery, just basically even due to sweat, you need something to grab a hold of and not to slip off, because there ain't nothing that looks worse than sending a guy into the ropes and you disconnect, and then you got to re-grab. Because, theoretically, you shouldn't be able to re-grab because that guy didn't want to get sent into the rope to begin with, right?
Yeah. Here's my arm, do that again.
That was always another thing that always got me, because a guy might know the spot that was coming up, and if a guy's pounding on him in the corner, and then all of a sudden he just hands the guy his arm, a little bit of, up is okay, but you just don't want to look like he's shaking the guy's hand. So basically, to answer your question, it's for traction. When you look at what Triple H was doing with tape back in the day, he taped up that right hand very heavily, and he would use that as part of his gimmick as far as his look goes, because he was using that right hand as a sledgehammer. And I always thought it looked really cool. It was a good idea. Sometimes I wish I would have thought of it before he did, and certainly guys have been doing this for a long time. But the downside of that is that was part of his gig. He taped up that right hand every single night. So a lot of work, a lot of tape, a lot of bullshit, but that's the answer to your question.